After being humiliated by Lucille Ball in front of an entire audience, Joan Blondell rushed off the stage crying her eyes out. Lucille told Blondell that she was a horrible entertainer and that she was also bad at acting. But did Blondell quit acting because of this? Continue watching to find out. But before we get into the video, make sure to subscribe to the channel and leave a comment below saying I subscribed. We'll do our best to personally reply to your comment. Who was Joan Blondell? Blondell was reportedly born around 1906 in New York. She came from a family of performers and was used to her parents touring around the country every now and then. Because of the constant touring, Blondell was raised living in a camper van along with her parents. She made her very first appearance on stage at the age of 4 months when she was carried on in a cradle. Blondell spent her childhood traveling a year in Honolulu and 6 years in Australia and had seen much of the world by the time her family stopped touring and settled in Dallas, Texas, when she was in her mid-teens. Around this time, Blondell decided to give beauty competitions a shot and ended up winning the 1926 Miss Dallas pageant and was a finalist in an early version of the Miss Universe pageant. She then finished at the Santa Monica High School, where she used to perform in school plays. The following year, she returned to New York and applied to any job she could find. She initially worked as a fashion model and a store clerk, a circus hand, joined a stock company to become an actress, and even managed to perform on Broadway. Playwright William Inge thought she was a brilliant actress and personally selected her for a 7-month, 110-city national tour of his play titled The Dark at the Top of the Stairs. The play revolved around the story of a troubled Oklahoma family in the 1920s and featured Lottie Lacey, a character perfect for Blondell's colorful theatrics. By the early 30s, Blondell had secured a spot for herself in Broadway and starred with James Cagney in Penny Arcade. Penny Arcade lasted only 3 weeks, but Al Jolson saw it and bought the rights to the play for $20,000. He then sold those rights to Warner Brothers, with the condition being that the studio offered Blondell and Cagney the lead role in the film version, titled Sinner's Holiday. Before she knew it, Blondell was now working for Warner Brothers. She left everything in New York behind and moved to Hollywood, becoming the highest-paid actress. After the movie was released, she was paired several more times with James Cagney in films, including The Public Enemy and Footlight Parade. Soon, however, the Great Depression would hit America, but Blondell didn't feel it in the slightest, as she was one of the highest-paid actresses in the United States at that time. Her stirring rendition of Remember My Forgotten Man in the Busby Berkeley production of Gold Diggers in 1933, in which she co-starred with Dick Powell and Ruby Keeler, became an anthem for the frustrations of the unemployed and the government's failed economic policies. This only made Blondell more popular, and by the mid-1930s, she had appeared in almost 50 films. She then took a short break from films to give birth to her first son. On the 31st of August in 1938, Blondell reported back to the studio for her first day of work with director James Flood and co-star Pat O'Brien. She was now taking in $2,500 a week, which was considered as the highest salary at Warner Brothers. It had been a whopping 7 months since she made her last movie, There's Always a Woman, and when Blondell went back to acting, she was suffering from separation anxiety because the new film was shooting away from her family. In 1943, Blondell returned to Broadway as the star of Mike Todd's short-lived production of a comedy film titled The Naked Genius. She was also well received in her later films and was billed below the title for the first time in her career in the film Adventure. Blondell began work on Adventure in May 1945 in an unambiguously supporting role. The production was rushed to capitalize on star Clark Gable's decorated service as a pilot flying missions over Germany and his return to the screen after a 3-year absence. In Adventure, he played a Marine as restless as the sea, with Greer Garson as his love interest. Gable and Garson never liked each other. She was too regally virtuous for him. He was too coarse for her. Gable much preferred his women to be earthy and animated, so he gravitated toward Blondell instead. Blondell was then featured prominently in the films A Tree Grows in Brooklyn and Nightmare Alley. Blondell then decided to take a break from the screens in 1948 and concentrated on theater, performing in summer stock and touring with Cole Porter's musical called Something for the Boys. Being humiliated. Blondell returned to Hollywood in the early 1950s in her next film titled The Blue Veil. Her acting in the film later earned her an Academy Award nomination for Best Actress in a Supporting Role. After that, she went on to play supporting roles in Desk Set and Will Success Spoil Rock Hunter. Her performance as Lady Fingers in The Cincinnati Kid received Blondell considerable acclaim and earned her a Golden Globe nomination and National Board of Review win for Best Supporting Actress. Blondell also guest starred in various television programs, including 3 1963 episodes as the character Aunt Wynne in the CBS sitcom The Real McCoys. In that same year, she was cast as the widowed Lucy Tutane in the episode The Train and Lucy Tutane, in a series called Death Valley Days. In the story, Lucy sues a railroad company simply for causing an accidental death of her cow. In 1965, she was in the running to replace Vivian Vance as Lucille Ball's sidekick on the CBS television comedy series The Lucy Show. Unfortunately, after filming her second guest appearance as Lucy's new friend from California, Blondell stormed off the set right after the episode had completed filming when Lucille Ball humiliated her by harshly criticizing her performance in front of the studio audience and technicians. But despite being humiliated, Blondell still continued working on television. In 1968, she guest starred on the CBS sitcom Family Affair, starring Brian Keith. That same year, Blondell co-starred in all 52 episodes of the ABC Western series Here Comes the Brides. For her performance on the show, Blondell received 2 consecutive Emmy nominations. In 1977, she was cast as a cynical aging playwright in the film Opening Night. A few years before her passing, she was widely seen in Grease and the remake of The Champ, which both reached international success. She also appeared in The Glove and The Woman Inside, which were released after her death. Blondell has a motion picture star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame for her contributions to the film industry. Her star is located at 6311 Hollywood Boulevard. Private life. Blondell married 3 times. Her first husband was cinematographer George Barnes, whom she married in a private wedding ceremony in 1933. The couple had 1 child they named Norman Powell, who became a talented producer, director, and television executive. Joan and George divorced just 3 years into their marriage. In the same year that she divorced Barnes, she married Dick Powell, who was an actor, director, and singer. The couple had a daughter together. Blondell and Powell divorced after less than a decade, and he went on to marry actress June Allison, who was working with Blondell at the time. The 2 women had their fair share of fights and didn't get along together, but they managed to finish their collaboration successfully. Blondell passed away from leukemia in Santa Monica, California in 1979. 2 services were planned for Joan, one in California and one in New York. Several hundred mourners packed the Forest Lawn Memorial Park. Do you think Lucille Ball was just jealous of Blondell? Or was she really that bad of an actress? Let us know in the comments and check out our next video in this series.